one of my listeners saying, hey, how does this work and how would I get involved?
Sure. Well, the website to go to is called tomorrowstuitiontoday.org, tomorrowstuitiontoday.org. There's a lot of information on that site, not only about the Private College 529 plan, but a lot of good information in general about paying for college. Once you're there, you'll see there are links and phone numbers that you can call if you want to find out more. Private College 529 works with Oppenheimer funds. They do a great job in their call center of answering questions and helping you get your account set up.
So Oppenheimer Funds is kind of the financial partner that's managing it, and is the money invested? Does it even matter for the participants where their money's invested, so to speak?
The money is invested by Oppenheimer, but really is the plan. With the way the plan works is it only really matters to the participating colleges, because the families that have purchased prepaid tuition plan or Private College 529 plan certificates know that the colleges are guaranteeing that the tuition will be paid for. So no matter what happens to the investments in the trust that your money goes into, tuition is paid.
Well, what I find when I look at the lists, and some people might say 270 private colleges a lot, and some may say it's not a lot, but it's a big list, and I don't even know how many actual private colleges there are. There are so many in the U.S., but some of the main ones, when I look at this list and think about my own clients, Chapman's on the list included, Harvey Mudd, Middlebury College, Princeton, Stanford, University of San Diego. I mean, there's University of Redlands in California. There's a lot of what I actually see as some of the more generous colleges are the colleges that I see that do have funds to help support financial aid, and often the colleges that I'm encouraging students to apply to. So that's really encouraging. Now, if your son or daughter's thinking Harvard, Yale, right now those colleges aren't on the list. So that's part of, I guess, the risk that you take, or understanding what the downside's going to be to that, as you said, minus 2% or 2% more.
Right. And I want to emphasize the board and the staff is continually working to add new member institutions to that list.
So what are the guarantees? So someone signs up, says, here's my today's Stanford tuition's $42,000. Here's my certificate for 1 year of Stanford's tuition. How does it really work?
Well, once you have gotten to the point where you've put in the amount that Stanford's tuition costs today, or whenever you get to that point along the way, by the way, I want to also say that you can start with as little as $25 a month for one certificate account. But anyway, at the point where you get to the actual tuition for that school, you're done. And then if your child goes to that school, let's say 10 years from now, and the tuition has gone up 5% a year or whatever it's gone up, it doesn't matter to you. You walk in, your child walks in with that certificate once they're admitted to that school, and the school takes care of the rest.
And actually, that's a really good point. So how are the students credited if you were paying $25 a month, and at the end of you're now 10 and you've paid enough tuition to pay for 1 year of tuition at Stanford? Does it only get credited to the year when you finished paying, or every year do you get kind of a credit to what the tuition would have cost along the way? Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, as the tuition, the colleges tell the Private College 529 staff every year what their tuition is. And so if you put in all of the money this year, you're taken care of now forevermore when you're I shouldn't actually say forevermore. I think it has to be, as I recall, within 30 years.
I think I read somewhere that it was 30 years also.
But as soon as you have finished putting in 100% of the tuition, in whatever year that is, now you know whatever year your child goes to that college, their tuition is completely taken care of, no matter what happens to the investments in the trust.
Okay, so, and do you pay by year? Like, so if you had paid enough to pay for 1 year of Stanford by the time you're 7, and then you get the first year you paid for 1 year of tuition, I guess that's kind of how the math works. I'm trying to envision how that account works, but it's really something that you guys, it's more of a certificate concept.
Right, exactly.
So if I have families that are listening on to the show right now, and they can go onto that website, can they actually be purchasing certificates through the website today?
Yes. 24 hours a day. website's open and the call center's open, during the day.
And so who where do the guarantees come from? Or how can everyone feel comfortable that this is going to be a legitimate program? How do you guys manage that to convince your students?
As long as your child goes to one of the member institutions, an institution that is a member as of the date that you bought the certificate. So even if that college, we hope none drop out, but if one ever dropped out in the future, as long as you had purchased that tuition when they were a member, your child would be guaranteed that their tuition would be covered at the time that they show up to go to school there. So the colleges are guaranteeing the future value of the certificate. For the refund, the trust actually provides that guarantee, the trust that is managed by Oppenheimer.
So let's talk some real numbers here, because maybe some of our listeners have missed out on some of the other shows where we've talked about how much higher the college inflation is than the everyday inflation, or I guess inflation, we're not sure. We're told it's pretty low, but still the price of gas is going up. So tuition inflation, does your organization believe kind of the number of 5 to 8% a year is what colleges are increasing? It
certainly has been at that level so far in the past, or in the recent past. I really don't want to make a prediction about whether that will continue or not. I do a lot of reading about what's going on and talking to colleges around the country. I know that all are working to try to moderate that increase as much as they can. There are a number of pressures on them that are hard to deal with: cost of energy, cost of healthcare, cost of people, all those things. But all of private higher ed is certainly, and I'm sure public higher ed as well, is very concerned about that. However, whether it's 2% a year, 5% a year, 8% a year, to me, it's very comforting to know that that is taken care of for my child once I've completed purchasing that tuition.
So if a private school costs $35,000 a year today in tuition, with an inflation of 5%, tuition is going to be $57,000 a year in 10 years. I mean, so many families are just shocked by how much they're going to have to save to come up with that number. So this is a way to get ahead of the number. And what kind of response are you guys getting? I think I understand that you're actually, now are you working through colleges to encourage this, or how are you letting people know about the program?
The principal marketing is through the colleges, and but also the purpose of creating the Tomorrow's Tuition Today.org site and putting lots of good information on it is to try to create awareness through the search engines and so forth, so when people are searching for ways to save for college, they'll hopefully come across the site. Well,
a link to the Tomorrow's Tuition Today.org website is available on our website, collegesmartradio.com. And you should log in and check it out to all of our listeners. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, Lloyd, but thanks so much for coming on to our show, College Smart Radio.
Thank you, Beatrice.
If you have a college-bound student, saving for college is important, but make sure to review my archives for the 2 shows I broadcast with my husband and partner at Westface Financial, Mark Guthrie. We discuss the many ways to save for college and the pros and cons of each, 529s included. Links to the podcasts of those 2-part series are available at collegesmartradio.com. You can click on the archives, and the shows were titled Where Should I Save for College, Part 1 and Part 2. Because you want to remember that before you decide where you want to save or if a prepaid tuition plan is the right choice for your family, you'll want to know whether it's possible that you're going to qualify for financial aid at these private colleges. And with cost of attendance running over $60,000 a year, many families are surprised that they may qualify for college grants. Doesn't mean that the prepaid tuition plan isn't right for you, but remember that any money in a 529 plan, either prepaid or not, will count as a parent asset on the financial aid calculation for the FAFSA and CSS profile. Well, that wraps up another weekly show of College Smart Radio. We hope you picked up some new information today that helps you figure out ways to manage the runaway costs of college. You can hear us each week here at KDOW 1220 AM, Saturdays at 3 p.m. We promise to bring you up-to-date information from the front lines of helping parents deal with the most expensive years of their lives. For a link to a podcast of this show and our prior weekly shows, go to our website, www.collegesmartradio.com. And in addition to the podcast, you'll find a schedule of our upcoming shows. Make sure you print out or bring up on your tablet our glossary of college planning terms for reference during our future shows. It's complicated to navigate, and without knowing the terms, like 529 plans, subsidized loans, it is easy to get lost. Plan to join us at one of our upcoming Westface College Planning workshops in San Carlos, and we've also added monthly workshop webinars to our schedule starting in January to better accommodate families that are not able to attend the live workshops. You can reserve your seat at the workshop either live or via webinar from the show's website, www.collegesmartradio.com. This is Beatrice Schultz. Thanks for tuning into College Smart Radio. We look forward to sharing more helpful information next week.
You've been listening to College Smart Radio with certified financial planner Beatrice Schultz. If you have questions on today's topic, log on to collegesmartradio.com or call area code 650-587-1559. That's 650-587-1559. Join us next week at this time for another edition of College Smart Radio on AM 1220 KDOW.